Let me ask you something. Are you still chasing deals but struggling to find the money? Are you tired of hearing it takes money to make money when you don't want to use your own? And what if I told you raising millions in private money isn't about who you know? It really comes down to what you say and how you say it. Welcome to Raising Private Money. I'm Jay Conner, the Private Money Authority, and today's episode is proof of what's possible when you get this right. I'm sitting down with Willie Oyola, real estate investor out of Florida, who joined my elite mastermind just about 3 years ago. And since then, he's raised over $3 million in private money, not from banks, not from hard money lenders, from everyday people who are happy to fund his deals. So the real question is, what did Willie change? What did he learn? What did he say differently? And how can you do the exact same thing starting right now? If you've ever thought, I don't have the money to scale my business, this episode is about to remove that excuse. You're going to meet Willie right after this.
If you're a real estate investor and are wondering how to raise and leverage private money to make more profit on every deal, then you're in the right place. On Raising Private Money, we'll speak with new and seasoned investors to dissect their deals and extract the best tips and strategies to help you get the money, because the money comes first. Now here's your host, Jay Conner.
Willie, welcome to the show.
Hey, welcome. Thank you so much, Jay. I appreciate it.
You betcha. I'm so excited to have you on. Let's go ahead and get straight into it. What were you doing differently 3 years ago before you raised your first million in private money? And what was it that flipped the switch? How were you funding your deals? Did you miss out on any deals? And what changed?
Right, absolutely. So basically, a lot of times when we start off in real estate, we go to the traditional route, investing in single family rentals is how I started off, traditionally going to the bank, doing 20% down the traditional way. And, after a while, that eats up a lot of cash quickly. And then started doing some fix and flips. And guess what? I had to go to the hard money route. So that also cost a lot of money and ate up a lot of cash as well. So that's what I was doing differently. And since then, it's, what's happened since then, and it's all private money now.
Yes. So just so our audience understands, explain what's the difference between private money and hard money?
Yeah. And it's funny because a lot of some investors call hard money private money, when in reality, the difference is that hard money is usually a broker that pools funds together from private lenders, like the ones we work with individually. And they pool those funds and then loan it out to real estate investors. And they usually charge points, origination, and other fees and stuff like that. So the process can be a little bit more costly. Actually, it is a lot more costly, higher interest rate. And they're basically acting like a broker, and most of them are brokers, and they're just pooling funds together. Whereas the world of private money, it's a one-on-one interaction between myself, our business, and individuals in our community that we're showing how to invest in real estate passively. So we're setting our own rules. We work with them individually, and they can invest in our deals.
So essentially, private lenders, what you're saying, are ordinary people, right? They're like,
Yeah.
I mean, we're not necessarily looking for rich people, right? You have found people through your own connections that have got either investment capital and or retirement funds that they're just not happy with where they had the money and the returns they were getting, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's actually the opposite. Like you said, it's not necessarily the people you think are rich or well off or investors. They're ordinary folks that have money sitting idle, as you also call it, lazy money. And it's not serving them. It's not doing anything for them. And once we educate them and teach them our program, it's incredible how people start coming forward. It does take time and persistence, and putting on that teacher hat to educate them and show them what we're doing, But once they see it, it's like, wow, why didn't I do this before? Why didn't I know about this before? So yeah, like you said, it's not, rich people or people with nice cars. Quick story, one of our most recent private lenders, he's got, and I actually met him through my local BNI, and he was a referral from there. And I went to meet him, because we're building relationship together. And he's also a real estate investor. So he's done everything from fix and flips, flipping trailers. He's got a rental properties. He's done it all. He's actually owns real estate in his Roth IRA. And now he's actually loaning money to us in his Roth IRA as a private lender. And when I saw him pull up to his trailer that he's, I'm helping him out with his trailer, my guys, he pulls up in a rinky-dink pickup truck. Does not look like he's got the type of money that he does, but he does. I mean, it's, they're not nothing flashy, but he has more money than he knows what to do with it.
Well, it's a dangerous thing to judge a book by its cover. That's for sure. Now, when we go back to when you were using hard money, institutional money to fund your deals, and then you switched over to attracting private money, would you say it was primarily a strategy change on attracting that money? Or was it more about the mindset and how you showed up, or all the above?
Ooh, I'd probably say the biggest portion would be the mindset. The mindset is key, because before I went into the world of private money, the way you teach it and the way you teach your students, did raise some private money, but it wasn't the way that I was getting in front of different people, investor type folks, more active investors. But once I switched that mindset and I came into your mentorship program and I learned the whole mindset piece, how you mentioned the real estate in between your ears is the biggest thing and most important real estate you'll ever own. And that's true, because it all begins there. Once you shift that way of thinking and you can go out there confidently sharing what you're doing and just teaching people, not going out there looking for money, not going out there to pitch a deal. That's not it at all. We have a program. It works for some, may not work for all, but it works for the ones that want to work with us and grow their money. So it's just a big mindset shift. So I'll say it's mostly mindset. Strategy, I mean, it's another strategy, I guess you can say, for utilizing capital, other people's money, just like you would with doing owner finance or other creative deals. Private money is just another strategy you can utilize. However, in order to use that strategy, you really got to shift your mindset.
Yeah. You joined my elite mastermind group about 3 years ago. So speaking of mindset, mind shifting, what would you say is one belief, maybe more than one belief comes into mind here, but what's at least one belief about raising money that shifted and that you now was like not exactly the right way to be thinking about it?
I guess one belief that a lot of people think is that when raising private money is that they have to pitch a deal, or you're asking for money. We're not asking for money at all. We don't even talk about a deal. And I've had people try to ask me if there's a deal. And I said, even though I may have a deal in the back of my mind, that's not how we position it. I don't really know if that's the right way of doing it. But what I do know is that you have to shift that mindset thinking that, hey, you just got to position things differently.
Yeah. Well, and it's so important. What you're alluding to here is, I mean, one belief that I changed or that I learned was not the right way to be thinking about it. When I started raising private money all the way back in 2009 is, like you've been saying, real estate investors think they got to pitch a deal. And one big mistake that I see people making, real estate investors making, is talking about a deal that they need funded at the same time talking about the opportunity that you're offering. And you're already sounding like you're desperate without even trying to sound desperate. So what you just explained is just so critical. of separating those conversations between the opportunity, private money opportunity, and then having a deal, for your private lender to fund. I tell you another big mindset shift that I experienced, and I think one misconception that a lot of real estate investors have is they believe, and 99.9% of the people walking around believe this, they believe that whoever's loaning the money makes the rules. They believe that whoever's loaning the money is, sets the interest rate, sets the length of the note, the frequency of payments. How about speak to that, Willie, how this opportunity that you offer private lenders is completely opposite than that?
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, it's that whole shift in thinking that you're not pitching a deal. It's not need the money. You don't want to sound desperate. We have a private lending program that we educate and teach our community, teach people our warm connections. So we basically tell them, hey, look, this is what we've got. This is our program that we have. We have other private lenders. We share stories of what we're doing in our business now with private lenders and, what they were doing before and now how they're doing with us with their retirement funds or lazy money. So we always shift that way of thinking by sharing stories to let them know that, hey, that's the way our program works. I've had other folks ask us, hey, is there any profit splits or anything like that? And I tell them, no, that's not what our private lending program is. We have a set program and everyone gets paid the same and we follow the rules. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Yeah. And I mean, that's just so important, right? The way you just described it, it reminds me that think of the private lender as the bank. So, when we're borrowing money from the bank or a mortgage company, the lender, they don't own any of the property. They don't share in the profits or the losses, right? It's like private money in my mind. It's like an individual taking their investment capital and or retirement funds, and instead of putting it in the bank and earning just pennies, then they are investing it or loaning it to you, the real estate investor, and they know exactly what their rate of return, what that annual percentage rate is going to be, regardless as to whether you have some, Murphy show up, some surprises on the deal and that type of thing.
Yeah.
So, a lot of people that are listening here to the show, a lot of them think or maybe thinking, I don't have a huge network of connections. I don't know a lot of wealthy people. Of course, you already spoke to that, but they may think I just don't have a large network. What would you say to them about that concern that they might have?
Right. And it reminds me of, I actually heard you say it one time is that, you've heard a lot of your students say that. And I've also heard that being around your events, people talk about that they may not know people. They don't, their friends don't have money. And one thing I heard you say that always sticks with me is go to where the money is. The more money you roll in, the more sticks to you. And just go find new friends, make new connections, get out of your comfort zone and network, meet people. And when you're going out, meet people, just go out to genuinely meet people and serve and see how you can help them with a better rate of return on what they're doing. It's not about finding wealthy people at all. It's just finding people. People know people, they recommend you, they refer you, but you have to get out. And that's one of the biggest things I see is that people think that, it's only the people they know around them. That's not necessarily true. Get out and meet new people, make new friends and go to where other investors hang out, other entrepreneurs, like-minded people are at.
Yes. Get involved in the community, for goodness sakes. And as you said, get involved. How can you serve those people? Lead with a servant's heart. Another popular question that I hear often is, how do I start conversations? How do I bring up the topic? You're having a conversation with someone. And it's like, how do I like bring up the topic of private money to where I'm not sounding like I'm chasing money or begging for money? How do you start conversations, Willie?
Yeah, I mean that's always an important piece is how that icebreaker. How do you start it? And most of the time when people ask, what do? You just let them know, hey, I teach people how to get high rates of return safely and securely, or something along those lines. Just keep it short, sweet, and to the point. And then you turn around and ask them what they do. Because number one, they're going to be intrigued about what you just said. So you always want to be curious in a curious way that piques curiosity. And sometimes you could even joke about it and say, oh, no, I don't really do anything. I'm just hanging out. And they see you all the time, that this guy's out here networking all the time, and they're real curious about what he really does. And then they start asking more questions. So it just depends on how you present yourself and carry yourself, but also have that confidence that, hey, you're just going to go out there and meet people, learn about them, because when you're learning and serving them first, then they'll want to know more about you.
Yes. And it's all about sowing. You don't reap first, right? It comes down to, sowing those seeds. Willie, you've been on the operator side for a while. What year did you actually start investing in real estate?
So unknowingly, and not that I was so smart, like, oh yeah, let me get into real estate. So in 2012, we bought our first property in DeBary, Florida. And that was more of a property that my parents bought, that my parents urged me to buy, because they were like, hey, the market had dumped real big in Central Florida, and 08, 09 happened, 2010, 2011, and they saw that prices were going up, and they knew they were going to retire down to Florida. At the time, I was in Okinawa, Japan. I had just got out the Marine Corps. I was a government contractor working on base, just had a family, and, was making extra cash over there. Luckily, the whole debacle financial crisis didn't really affect us overseas as a government contractor for the military. So I had some good money coming in, and my parents kept urging me, hey, look, invest in Florida. We're going to retire down there. You put the money down. We'll pay you back little by little. We'll pay for the mortgage. So that was my first exposure to real estate. Again, I didn't know what I was doing. I put the money down. I owned the home. They were paying for it. So I wasn't making any money off of it, but it got me exposed to it and my foot in the door. And then from there, I started seeing like, whoa, this stuff is really picking up. I'm seeing these prices keep going up. And they kept urging me. So I, 2015, bought a rental property. And that was our first actual rental, intentional rental property, was in 2015. And then 2016, another one. So just little by little, very slowly, kind of got into it. And then before you know it, in 2020, we started doing fix and flips, bought some properties, and it just scaled and grew from there.
Right. Of course, when you are borrowing private money from your private lenders, you're not borrowing unsecured money. So let's speak to those that are listening to this show that might be interested in being a private lender themselves. And they want to be in real estate, but they want to be passive. They don't want to be out negotiating deals like you are. So how do you protect your private lenders to where they feel secure and they really are protected?
Yeah, and then that's one thing that our private lenders really love, is that it's a secured against real estate. So we never borrow unsecured funds. So a lot of times people talk about, pooling funds in a syndication or a debt fund or something like that. It's completely different than what we do, whereas we actually teach our private lenders that they can be the bank on the property. So I show them, I'm like, look, you're going to get the same type of bank level protection as if I were to go to, a mortgage originator or Wells Fargo and get a line of credit or a loan on a property. We're going to give you the same type of protection. We're going to give you a mortgage, a recorded mortgage, promissory note, title insurance, homeowners insurance, all the same key security documents that's going to protect your investment. So once you explain to them and kind of show them that they're basically acting as a bank, they love it, because everybody loves real estate. They love the fix and flips. They love the, rentals and all that stuff. They know people can build wealth in that, but they don't want to deal with that operations side of the business, because it's a business. So we're kind of like the operators out there for them, managing the rentals, managing fix and flips, new construction, the whole residential side of business. And they can put their money in one of our properties, one of our deals, get that fixed rate of return on their money, knowing that they can look it up on property appraisers, the county records, and see that loan they put out is secured, which means it's collateralized by that real estate. And that's just huge right there. People love that because it's almost as if they're putting it in the bank and they know where it's at, except they get a much better rate of return in private money lending. And that's just a huge game changer for a lot of folks. It's mind-boggling how so many people didn't know they can do that. And once you break it down to them and really break it down to simple, they're like, wow, that is kind of simple. It's like being the bank. And I was like, exactly. I tell people, do as the banks do. Loan, don't own. Banks don't own real estate, right? They got the biggest buildings in the nicest cities around the world. By owning real estate? No, loaning on the real estate. So, everybody says the banks win. Well, now guess what? You can be the bank. You can win now because we're out there operating the business for you.
Yeah. Yes. Of all our private lenders that are funding our deals, none of them had ever heard of private money, private lending. None of them had ever heard of how they could move their current retirement funds over to a self-directed IRA company. So that's why it is, as you were talking about, to lead with education and letting people know how this works and what the opportunity is. A lot of my private lenders were in the stock market, and they moved over from stocks, mutual funds, to being a private lender with us. And so speak to that, Willie. How is your private lending opportunity that you offer your private lenders? What would you say the benefits are to that versus someone, investing in stocks or mutual funds or that type of thing?
Right. And actually, one of my private lenders, she had a lot of money in with her retirement account, IRA, financial advisor. But of course, they don't know. They're always looking at it. They're seeing it move up and down. So there's the volatility that happens. There's no control. What I've noticed with our private lenders, once we show them that there's a alternative way to invest in your retirement account using a self-directed IRA, and once we show them how that works, it's a no-brainer for them because they know that they can move their funds over in a secure way that it's still tax deferred or tax sheltered, and invest that in real estate. And I always tell them about Peter Thiel, who did PayPal, and all these high net worth, ultra wealthy are doing alternative assets. They're investing in either real estate notes, owning real estate. There's so much you can do once you move your funds over to a alternative asset, self-directed IRA. And once you tell them that and they see that and they're like, why didn't I know that? Why hasn't nobody told me this? I was like, well, it's not something that it's put out there unless you go and actually look for it and educate yourself on that. And that's why I was surprised that in my immediate area, only one private lender had a Roth IRA, and he has a checkbook because he actually owned real estate in his Roth IRA. Now he's loaning money on his Roth IRA because he had it with, a financial advisor, and, he didn't really like that he had no control over. A lot of our private lenders, they want that known, reliable return on their money. They want to know exactly where it's at and what it's doing. Yes. And they're looking at the stocks. It can go up and down, and you just never know what it's gonna look like in a year or two.
That's for sure. Speaking of protecting your private lenders, trust has got so much to do in this world of doing business with private lenders and taking care of them. Have you ever had a deal go sideways? And if so, how is it that your private lenders are protected? I.e., what I'm speaking to, or what I'd like for you to speak to, is the conservative loan to value.
Right. Yeah. And we haven't had any deals go sideways when we were using private money because of the fact that we have a conservative loan to value. So again, just like the banks do, whenever they're going to loan money to buy real estate or an investment property, the banks always, they cap you. For example, on an investment property, the banks are only going to give you 80% loan to value. So that means they're only going to give you 80% of the loan, so of the value of the property. So in our case, if we're even more conservative, when we're doing a fix and flip, if the property is only worth 200,000 completely renovated and ready to go, the max we can now allow our private lenders to invest is 75% of that value. So that's 150,000. Now, they may say, well, Willie, I've got 200 grand to put to work. Well, I say, well, look, I can't put your money in this deal because this may be only worth 200, but I want to get the max 200, the max percentage on my money. So that's what we cap them. We have to be conservative. I always tell my private lenders is, look, I have to go out and look for a deal where I can fit your money, whether it's a rental property, a property we cash out, a property we sell, or that we're acquiring, because we have to be good stewards of our private lenders' funds. If I need to sell property to move over or go to the bank, refinance, we'll do so. And that's another thing. We use that conservative loan to value just as the banks do. So our private lenders are, again, they're like the bank on these deals.
Right. Well, we have two different groups of people, and some are wearing both hats that are listening to this podcast. But one group are real estate investors that want to borrow private money and learn how to do that, just like you've been doing. So let me give out a URL here. If you're listening to this show and you're tired of missing out on deals for not having the funding and you want to get a lot of private money really, really fast, well, guess what? Coming up right around the corner is the Private Money Conference, and that's where Willie and I met each other in person the first time. Willie came to the Private Money Conference, and it's 3 days immersive, and you can check it out at www.jayconner.com/event. That's JAYCONNER.com/event. And we will have that in the show notes. And for those of you that want to get a high rate of return safely and securely, well, guess what? Willie could be your guy. Willie has proven over all these years to take care of his private lenders. He protects them. 100% of all the interest that his private lenders were expecting to get have received that on every deal that he's done. So Willie, how about give out the best way that our listeners can contact you to talk about the possibility of being a private lender with you?
Yeah, best way to reach out to me is I'm on Instagram at Willie Oyola, WILLIE OYOLA. And on Facebook, you can look me up by my name is Guillermo Oyola, GUILLERMO, and last name OYOLA. Or you could always, shoot me a text, give me a call, Google me. You can just Google me. I'm on social media and different platforms. I'm on LinkedIn as well. And I love talking real estate. I love sharing what we're doing, whether it's, somebody that's looking to raise private money or somebody that's looking to put money to work and they want a secure way to put that with a reliable and track and proven operator. We'd love to chat and share what we do and how we can help them.
Awesome. And those links will be in the show notes as well. Really, any parting comments before we call this a wrap?
No, thank you so much, Chad. Truly appreciate it. And I always tell people, if it wouldn't be for private money, we wouldn't be where we're at. And sky's the limit right now because of private money. Our business has grown tremendously. And it all helps with, getting with the right people, being around the right room, that right mindset. So if you get a chance, please listen to Jay Conner's podcast, come to the live event and just, consume it and just take it all in and implement what he teaches. It's phenomenal. It truly is. And I'm just grateful and thankful to be part of your world and being able to help others in our community, whether it's our sellers that are distressed and our private lenders that just want something secure. So
awesome. Willie, thank you so much for joining me here on Raising Private Money.
Awesome. Thank you, Jay.
You got it. All right. Here's the deal. If you got value from this episode, if something Willie shared opened your eyes or shifted your thinking or gave you a new idea on funding your real estate deals, then don't keep this to yourself, because there are thousands of real estate investors out there right now stuck thinking they can't move forward because they don't have the money and the funding. And you and I both know that is just not true. So here's what I want you to do. Take this episode and share it with just one person. Text it to them, email it to them, post it on your social, tag them. Be the person that introduces someone else to a completely new way of thinking about money. And listen, when you share this podcast and this episode, you're not just helping them, you're reinforcing what you just learned in this episode. You're stepping into leadership, and you're getting one step closer to becoming the authority in your own market. Also, if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed to Raising Private Money podcast so you don't miss out what's coming up next. Because the truth is, your next deal isn't waiting on a bank, it's waiting on a conversation. I'm Jay Conner, the Private Money Authority, and I'll see you right here on the next episode of Raising Private Money.
Are you feeling inspired by the knowledge you gained in this episode? Then head over to jconner.com/moneyguide. That's jconner.com/moneyguide and download your free guide that shares 7 reasons why private money will skyrocket your real estate investing business right now. Again, that's jconner.com/moneyguide to get your free guide. We'll see you next time on Raising Private Money with Jay Conner.